Hi, my name is Debra R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you can pay the right vendor. Now, this week's Vendor Master File tip of the week is part of the scam holidays, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. But it is Protect Your B2B Checks from Internal Fraudsters. All right, so what is scam holiday? So this is actually a word that I made up, and it is the time period between Thanksgiving or really Black Friday and New Year's. And so during this time, through the week before Christmas, I will have specific content that is focused on four types of scams that you see during the holidays or year end when everybody is buying something, right? And so fraudsters are all over it. So either click the link in the description so you can get to the page, or you can take a picture of the QR code with your camera. Last week's scam was shipping scam. So take a review or look at that content. And then this week's scams, as you could probably already guess, is on check fraud or check scam. So let's talk about internal check fraud, and intercepting checks is what we're talking about today. And what do I mean by that? So let's say you write your checks for your check pay cycle, right? And so they are written, they are stamped, they are signed, they are stamped, they are all ready to go, but you leave them unattended. Maybe they're on a receptionist's desk waiting for the mailman to come in, or maybe they're on someone else's desk. Or you deliver the check to the employee. And I know that is hard not to do. I have been there because a lot of times you need checks just because it needs to accompany an application or some other type of documentation, which typically the internal employee will keep and then will attach the check that you give to them to go to uh, whoever that vendor organization is. But that is a no-no because both ways the checks can be taken by the employee and they can be deposited. They can either the employee can either endorse it as the payee so they don't mess anything up, right? So now positive pay is going to be fine. Or they're going to whitewash it with a new payee and then add their name on it. And if you do not have payee positive pay, if you only have positive pay that's only going to look at the amount and the check number, you'll get caught by that one. But before we get into the positive pay, I do have a couple of controls to prevent the intercepting checks fraud. And that is one, to mail, once you generate the checks, mail them immediately or put them under restricted access, right? So lock them up. If you have a mail room, like I used to have in a small company, we still had a mail room and we would lock it up and restrict who has access to that or who could go through the mail room. Also, make sure you mail the checks to the payee and not to the internal employee. And again, I've been in that situation. We actually tried to solve it by having the internal employee attach all the documents that needed to be sent with the check, but that didn't work because we needed to have original documents, and so we weren't in the same office. They were getting lost. We did still end up, though, sending that check directly to the payee, and the internal employee had to find a way to match that check with whatever organization they were sending the other documents to. So keep that in mind. You do want to make sure you are not giving checks to internal employees. All right, so let's talk about, or in this podcast episode, I am talking about positive pay, right? And then also an additional step that you can take to mitigate check fraud. So you combine the two. So make sure you listen to that podcast episode. It is out and you can actually grab it on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right. So, if you would like more information on how to improve your vendor process, please go to my website at deborarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, fines, and just overall bad vendor data. If you would like over 113 annual hours of training for your vendor team, check out the Vendor Process Training Center at training.deborarrichardson.com. So good luck and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File tip of the week.